Hi there, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rain Boots, and today we're making holiday gnomes. We are going to make 3 different holiday gnomes: this adorable cozy farmhouse gnome, this super duper fuzzy wintry gnome, isn't he cute peeking out, and then my personal favorite, this holiday garland gnome. If you'd like to make them, stick around. All right, for supplies, we're gonna need faux fur. You can use cotton balls, you can use anything you have, yarn, and we're gonna need socks, both fuzzy socks and ankle socks. And then we're going to need any kind of flesh-colored felt, and you're gonna be able to color it with some blush and a small brush. And then we're also going to use wooden beads. So we're gonna need 2 beads if you'd like to make the arms, and a bead for the nose. I used wooden ones. You can use clay, you can use buttons, you can use anything you have and in any size you'd like. So first up, we're gonna make the gnome body, and this is a sock gnome, which means we're gonna take a men's ankle sock and we're going to scrunch it down. We're gonna fill 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of poly beads in the bottom, and we're going to tamp that down, and then we're going to stuff it full of polyfill. Now I chose to make a 9.5 inch body, which would put my gnome at nearly 14 inches. So what I did was I just kept stuffing. This is a men's ankle sock, so it goes pretty high, and then I just tied it off at the top with some embroidery thread. You can use twine, anything, but you want to make sure it's pretty solid before we move on. So, and we're now going to make gnome arms. You can skip this part if you don't like them, but we're going to take a 5-inch square of fabric and we're going to hem one side lightly. And then we're going to fold over about a 1/2 inch, but we're leaving the bottom unglued where that hem was, because that's where we're going to put our wooden bead for our hand. And then we're just going to fold it over again. And again, we're leaving that bottom part open. And then we're going to hot glue it right here, and then we're gonna cut it. So that way we're gonna fit the hand before we finalize our arm. So you'll see what I mean here in just a second. And we're gonna do this again, so if you didn't get it the first time, it's no big deal. So we're just gonna put a little dollop of hot glue in here, pop in a little bead, and then we're going to secure that edge right there. Okay, so now here it is again in case you want to see it quicker. So we just hem the bottom, we fold it over 1/2 inch, glued it down, leaving the bottom open for a bead. We repeated that, snipped the edge, and then glued in a bead for our hand. And then we glued down that final edge. Super duper easy. Mine were 5 inches, and you can make yours whatever size you want, but I wanted them to be able to touch in case I wanted to decorate something in the middle. And then I just glued them on the actual body. So next up is the gnome beard. I'm using craft fur from the Bolt, and so you can use anything. You can use yarn, you can use fur, minky fabric, anything you have on hand. And I'm just going to wrap it underneath the arms so that it gives me the width of the fur. And then for the beard, I just want to give you a little tip. If you're cutting faux fur, only cut the backing there and always cut it about 1 inch down. What we're going to do is we're going to join this to the center in a triangle shape. So you just hold each side, and then you're just going to use a razor blade or a straight blade to cut only that backing. And then, oh, I gotta cut a little piece right here. And then what you're gonna do is, to get it even on the other side, you're just going to place it down on the table flat, make sure the pile is facing down, fold it over. And then you can use a pencil to trace it if you want. I just sort of eyeball it because I've been making these guys so long. But if you're new to making gnomes, you can totally develop your own template or just eyeball it. So again, here we are. We have our little triangle now, but we're not going to do anything with this yet. We're not going to glue it down to anything yet, because we're going to size a couple of things for our gnomes before we move it down. Okay, so we're going to place it, and you're going to wrap that fur back under the edges, or under the bottoms of your arms, you see? And you're just making sure that it falls where you want it to fall. You can tamp down your gnome on the table, just like that. But we're going to take a little piece of felt, again, any color you'd like, and we're going to make sure that it sort of covers the majority of the front of our gnome. And you don't have to do this little rounded off look. I don't know why I did it, to be honest. You can just put a rectangle of felt there because we're going to cover most of it up. But I decided that I would do that because I thought I wanted a bigger face. I didn't. I just want the littlest, tiniest face peeking out, and to make it look back set, like, the facial hair coming off, we're just gonna do a little trick when you're making gnome beards, and that is to roll this edge. So you're going to make sure the pile is facing one way, and you're just going to add the tiniest amount of glue and just barely fold over that top edge. So make sure you don't get any of the fur into that fold over, but you're just gonna do that all the way across. Here you can see just a teeny tiny little edge fold over, and it's maybe a quarter of an inch folded over. And again, it's just placed there. It's not on yet because we're going to place, the priority is this felt first. That's our lowest layer. And so we're gonna place it on, and then we're gonna hot glue that guy on. Now, here's a tip, because this is not very nice felt, just stick to the outsides with your glue, because we don't want any glue showing through on the face. Okay, so now that that's down, we can actually go ahead and put on our little gnome beard. And we're just going to glue it down exactly like we fit it. So we're just gonna add a little glue right under, directly onto the fur, because we folded it over. And we're just gonna make sure all the fur sort of still falls down. And then we're gonna do the other side, tuck it up under the arm. And brush the hair down with your fingers or use a comb, it doesn't matter. But you're gonna split right in the center, just a teeny tiny bit, and right above it, you're going to put either a wood bead. I have these little round wood gnomes wood balls I got from Amazon, and they don't have a hole in them, so when I'm making a smaller gnome, I use those. Okay, so after that's on, now it's time to make our hat. So we want to make sure that we're covering however tall you want to make your hat. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick it on our body and pull the sides down so that it covers all the way, the top of the arms and the beard. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that it doesn't show any of the black sock. So just this little cute little face is peeking out, and you're just going to tack that into place with some hot glue. And you're going to do both sides. And just make sure all the hair, all the faux fur is out of the way. Just tuck it down there. And then glue this side. And then also add a little dollop of glue in the middle wherever you want it. So if you want a higher face, a taller face, then you can do that as well. I liked a little tiny sliver of a face. Okay, so once that's on, we're going to position put on the rest of our face. And we're just gonna position our cheeks with a little bit of blush here on a small applicator brush. I used my daughter's pretend makeup brush. Oops. And now we're going to use a paint pen. If you've never drawn on eyes, I have a little tip, just dots. And then that will help you form a better circle without any mistakes. So after that black is dry, you're just gonna add one tiny little dot up in the upper right so you can have a reflection. And then you're done with the eyes. Like, it's that simple. So we're gonna go ahead and glue down the back of our hat. Okay, and then we can actually start tugging on this because it's not going to go anywhere. So I wanted a 13-ish, 14-inch high gnome, and so I knew where I needed to snip off the top. Again, my little sock body is still tucked up under here, and that's what's going to help give me the edge. This is a dollar store sock, so I just gave it a little hem. I didn't know if it would like fall apart if I didn't hem it, so I hemmed it, and then I tied it up with a small piece of twine. And that's basically it for your hat, and now we can start covering the bottom. So because we snipped off that other piece of sock, I'm using it down here to cover up the ankle sock. You don't have to do this. You can use a different color if you want. I just had this sock left over, so I wanted to use it. And all I'm doing is just pulling it up in the back and then tucking it under the beard and the arm. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the front. I'm just gonna lift up that beard, and I'm going to raise up the little sock cover on the bottom, and then flatten down our beard, give it a little finger brushing. And here's a tip: if you want to make a dollar gnome look pretty nice, if you want to sell it at a craft fair, take the time to snip any edges away from the face, because the face is sort of what we're seeing. It's that cute little guy poking through. And so first up, we're going to decorate it in our farmhouse gnome in a little cozy tag. I just took twine, tucked it under the edge of the hat at the bottom, and then wrapped it all around to get the length. And then I used a clay tag I made. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick and maybe 1 inch long. And all I did was I traced it onto a piece of paper, and then wrote out in sort of a Ray Dunn style the word cozy. You can write peace or joy or sweater weather. You can use your Cricut or your Silhouette machine to put a little piece of vinyl so if you don't like your handwriting. Anything, any decoration you want, even just like a cute little picture of holly would be super. I used, so you can see all my practice there, I used a pencil, I wrote on the tag first, and then I just went over it 2 times with the black paint pen to get this. Now here's a tip when you're attaching any kind of tag or embellishment, loop it through and then drag the end through that hole and it will never move. And here's our little farmhouse guy. All right, so for this little guy, to match our buffalo check gnome, I used a little buffalo check at the top of the hat, and then this faux fur, I just made about a 1/2 inch strip to go all the way around the brim of the hat, and then I hot glued it down. So same exact concept here is we're going to be cutting this fur out of the face so that you can see it and you don't see any of the black hat on the bottom. So you can see right here, you see the white of the cover. All right, and the last little gnome is my favorite gnome, and that's this Christmas garland I picked up at a craft store. It has like a wire in it. I tucked the edge under the bottom of the hat and then just used the rest of it to go all the way up the hat. And then I used these little berries, which is also a garland, but I made sure to cut off a piece with a little wire in the front and then in the back, and then I just bent it down and wrapped it around the edges, or wrapped it around the garland all the way up. And that's it for this guy. He was super easy to do, and he is my favorite because of the color. Speaking of favorites, which one do you like the best? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure, please, click that like button. It really helps us out a lot. And if you would like to get more fun crafts, please subscribe to Ruffles and Rain Boots for more crafty fun.